Hi, I'm Dinesh Shamdasani, CEO of Bad Idea. I'm here with the Nerd Herd. If you want to do it right, collect what you like.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, man, it makes you feel better. We see that all the time, though.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what is it, Ultimate Fallout 4, the first Spider or Miles Morales, where they all just start disappearing or going up like big time.
Yeah.
And then they announce the game.
Yeah.
The same with before Ahsoka got announced, her first appearance shot up.
Yeah, it started vanishing.
It happened to me with America, right? So I had America, the 1 in 50 and the 1 in 15 on eBay for like 2 years, man. It was just sitting there, right? And all of a sudden they were gone, bang, 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 all at once. And I was like, what just happened? And then a week later, it was announced that she was getting, or like 2 weeks later, she was getting her own show, or they had something going on. I was like, oh, dude, someone knows something we don't.
Strange.
Yeah, something like that.
It's fascinating. Not that many people in Hollywood actually care, but they do tell people. Like, I hear a lot. I'll tell you one story. Is that me or is that? I'm sorry, guys. Okay.
Nope. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
I had, when I was at Valiant, I had a couple projects with the Russo brothers. This is when they were prepping for Civil War, and I had a meeting. I was lucky enough to have a meeting with them, and we had like lunch or dinner. I can't remember. It was a meeting where we were eating, and so this great and terrible thing about meals that are meetings is you usually get done with whatever business you have before you finish eating. So then you're like awkwardly sitting there and you find stuff to talk about. And so they're telling me, I was asking how the movie's going, the prep for the movie. They're like, it's really good. We just had this big thing happen. We got this character we've been trying to get a hold of for a long time, and finally we got the permission to do it. Oh, interesting. Does Feige hold permission like that? And you have to petition? And he goes, no. This is a character that Marvel didn't have the rights to. I was like, and immediately I'm like, what does that mean? That sounds amazing. But I'm trying to be cool. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that could happen. It's Spider-Man, so Sony owns it. I went, oh, okay, Spider-Man, that's cool. Yeah, Sony owns it. In my mind, of course, I'm like, oh my God. Wait like 30 seconds. I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, text my wife, and I'm like, I got to eat into the wedding fund, baby. I got this. I don't know how long I'm going to have this hot tip. And so we were saving up for a wedding. This is before I got sold Valiant. So harder to afford back then. And I bought a 1.0 cream pages 1.0. Nice, no marble chipping. Because I love that book. Sorry, JR. Amazing Fantasy 15 is like as a kid, before trades were really a thing, I got a trade for one of my birthdays, and it was the first 6 issues of Spider-Man, Fantasy 15 and 1 through 5. Wow. It blew my mind, and I love that story, that first issue, the first appearance. And it's one of those books that you never think you're going to get to own. And I knew that if the character was announced to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it would definitely be out of reach for me. And this is my last chance to spend. I think I spent $4,000.
Wow,
oh wow,
that's pretty good, man.
Yeah, now I think that's like a $15,000 book.
Jesus.
And it might have doubled like a month later when they announced the character. But it was surprising because I talked to all their people, and I told them about that buying that book. They don't think about buying that stuff. It's weird.
Are they collectors, or like the Russo brother? Like,
they're huge comic book fans, huge collectors, but they're not in the kind of the way that everyone here is. They'll buy things that they're nostalgic about, but they don't really think about the values. I'm not even sure they really understand how much some of these things are worth. Because it's a fairly new, you gotta think about it this way, it's a fairly new phenomenon that comic books can be worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Except for 10 years ago, it was only Action 1, Detective 27, maybe a few others, Marvel Comics 1. But Hulk 1 wasn't a $300,000-$400,000 book in the highest grades 10 years ago. That's a new phenomenon. First Mile, like a $10,000 book in 9.8, that Marco cover. It's crazy. It's a lot of money. It's a car. That book's 10 years old. It's a new phenomenon.
No, and it makes sense because I mean, it's a lot of these books are jumping overnight. It seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like as much as I hate Spider-Man, like I've got Spider-Man 50,
It's a great book.
which I bought because it's first Kingpin.
Yeah.
I love Kingpin. I bought it for $1,200 at an 8.5, which is a high grade for it.
Great price.
Got it signed by Lee and Ramada Sr.
Nice.
So I mean, it's never going anywhere. That book is like a $2,000, $2,500 book now. Without the signatures.
That's a COVID book, though. That's a COVID book, bro. Like that, we did a show when we first started, and it was like about like books that jumped during COVID, and that was one of them because I was looking at that ASM 50, and I was like, wait, I'm gonna see if I can get it like at 400 because it's kind of in that reach, like a 7.0, 8.0, and then all of a sudden it just was not in my reach anymore. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, that was raw, right?
It was a raw. I was gone. It just left. It left. That's a witch.
A lot of people I know in the finance industry are buying books, and they're investing in books because they're stable. Every commodity is dropped. The stock market is bolstered by the Fed, right? They're just pumping money in. But comic books, collectibles are super stable. I think we're going to shift.
That's what happened with all the sports cards and everything. It's just everybody's looking to diversify because it's like the market is so unstable. I mean, you have COVID, you have like who's going to be president. I mean, there's so many things external things that like can affect that market. But with cards and or just collectibles in general, I mean, they go up and they keep going up, especially those grails or those key books. I mean, they will never ever go down in price. They will never decrease in value. There's always going to be somebody out there that's going to want it, you know? So
you're right. The data shows that. Data shows that even in recessions, they hold value. They don't go down. Mm-hmm. In fact, they have some small gains.
Yeah, it's better than those blue chip stocks out there. I mean, seriously. That's how I see it. But you also have to make sure that you do diversify. You can't put like with the stock market, you cannot put all your money into one thing. You always have to get multiple things because some things will grow gradually, and then other things will have astronomical growth. So I mean, it kind of just all depends, but you can't put everything all into one thing. You have to have sports cards. You have to have like comic books and different kinds of things to kind of put money in.
Totally.
But I was talking to my brother. I've talked to my brother about this because we're really into the market. Like we invest pretty hard. And when I got into comics, he was crazy. He was like, dude, comics are worth more than stocks. I'm like, yeah, bro, you could buy a new comic book and come out for $4 on a Wednesday, and by Friday it'll be worth $25. What stock are you gonna get that beats that? Yeah. There's not gonna be any stock because I mean my big share right now is Neo, and like that thing jumped. It took 6 months for it to like triple, but that's not a comic can triple in one day, in one week, in like 3 days. You know,
you showed.
Yeah.
I mean, that Batgirl you bought, it was $4 issue, $5 issue, and now it's already up to $25, $30.
$30, man. It's like comics are worth more than stocks. That's just the way I kind of perceive it. I mean, but the thing about it is like I think we're all fans. You're not gonna buy some crap stock like some small investment, whatever, or
that's a big piece
Bitcom, right?
You guys all know a ton. If I said like 181. Just that number, you guys all know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. You can say that about stocks. Comic collectors have a wealth of knowledge that they can use to buy the right books. It's hard, man. I don't really invest in stocks. It's a lot of data. It's a lot of stuff I'm not involved in. A lot of stuff I can't get access to that information. It scares me. Comics, I have the info. It's kind of fun to learn the info too.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, like I always tell, like one of our other hosts here, his name is Nick, Fire Sale Comics. I talked to him started getting into stocks because I said, why can't comic book speculators be? I think comic book speculators are the best stock speculators because we know how to speculate. We know how to we know how to find that fine niche, that vibe, that algorithm that we know will hit, right? And Nick is blown. Nick tells me to buy stuff, man. I'm like, bro, I told you. You're on it, man. Like, cause you're an awesome speculator. So like you'll be an awesome speculator at stocks too. You know, like I think our skills translate into that world, right? That's all stocks is speculation, right? You know?
My advice though is be careful. Here's why. Because if your stock plummets, you don't like that stock. If your comic book, if Amazing Spider-Man 50 becomes worthless, Jared, You still love that book. You're not going to feel bad.
Tell me about it, man.
Right.
Pharmaceuticals are my bane. Don't I don't want to talk about them. My bane of life is, my bane of life is pharmaceutical. I had this one guy that I surf with. He's an older guy, and we've been surfing for like 10 years together. And I was like, hey man, I'm gonna jump in and try to buy these pharmaceuticals. He's like, don't do it, bro. When bought in, bro, tanked. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take that advice. But yeah, I mean, but we all hold on to our books still, but we still love them. Except for if if Punchline ends up like the way you said it would be, man, I'm gonna be like, you know,
10 years. Everything comes back around.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Everything's
so Dinesh, I know, right? Dinesh, let me ask you, man, because you're like, how is it? Because you're like us. I told the guys like Dinesh is like us, man. Go hard on your mail call, like, because he's like us. It's like how you're like us, but you're on the other side too. Like what is that? What is it like to be on both sides?
It's awesome, man. It's great because I think all comic fans love to know how comics are made, and they love to know all the details. It's why we're all obsessing about ratio variants and match twos, and you guys were saying Luna the other day, earlier, and I was like, oh my god, you guys know about the distribution platforms that are distributing different publishers. It's kind of fun.
We got a video on it.
You do? Awesome. I gotta watch that.
Oh yeah.
And it's all fascinating stuff. But there are other people that are also fans. One of the pieces of advice that you get when you cross over into the business of comics is to kill the fan, which is a really important thing to do, because you can't make business decisions based on what you want to see or what you want to do as a fan. However, if you can do that on your day-to-day in your like work life, but still be a fan in your, let's call them off hours. There really are no off hours for publishing, but the best you can come up with off hours. It's a really, really fun business. And there are other publishers, especially the people that start the companies. I think I found tend to be that way. The guy that runs Boom, Ross Ritchie, huge fan, loves Amazing Fantasy 15 as well. He's always looking to upgrade his copy. I see him at shows like wheeling and dealing with people that have booths being like, here's my 3.5. What if I gave you this plus like 4,000 in cash? Could I get that 4.0? And he's wheeling. Nick Barucci that runs Dynamite's a huge fan. But sometimes there are also a lot of businessmen, especially the guys at DC and Marvel. They tend to be more business oriented. But it's fun, man. I get to do a ton of shows. And I don't get a lot of time to shop, but I usually will spend the last half hour of a Sunday just walking around the booth, seeing what's left over, picking up scraps. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. So, talking about like Comic-Cons, man, when was your first Comic-Con?
I grew up
your very first one, you know?
Yeah, I grew up in Hong Kong. So my first Comic-Con was, grew up in Hong Kong. There's no shows there. I moved to America to go to film school at USC. Didn't go to any shows. I don't know why I didn't. I guess I just was like, actually, I'm not sure. I guess this is my first con. I went to USC had at the Shrine Auditorium a tiny little, a tiny little convention center. It's like maybe like 10 tables, 15 tables. What would you say? Tiny, right?
Yeah, and it's so dark.
It is.
Terribly dark.
So dark.
We like the dark, okay?
It's not
people that go comics like the dark. Leave it alone.
It's not curated. So some of the dealers that go are good dealers, some are terrible. And I would go to that once a month when they would do it. And I remember one time, and I'm a student, I'm a film student. All my buddies were like, why do you keep buying these comics? And I remember one time I called my buddy and I was like, hey, you got to come out here to the Shrine and help me. I bought too many comic books. And he's like, oh, fine. The dolly. And he's like, the dolly? What did you do? Because I'm in university, right? There's like girls, there's drinking, there's work. I'm in film school. I love what I'm doing, so I'm working hard. I have a few comics, but not like you are, JR. Not like the background there. I like
the sad thing is that's only a slight amount of them.
I bet. I like that you built them into tables, by the way. I like that they're functional.
Yeah, I've had to do that basically.
You don't know this, Dinesh, but somewhere along the corner there's a little short box castle that he kind of
get out. See, move the camera. Are you able to move the camera?
So we'll do a little tour.
We'll put them on blast. Hold on, real quick.
So we've got some there. We've got a couple of those my CGC long boxes.
You're surrounded, bro.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I've never seen this before, man.
There, and I'll give you one pretty thing to look at, one art piece.
Hey, JR, this is an intervention. I think you have a problem.
I think there should be a dollar style, and I'm the only one invited.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
How many books are there, Jared? Those are short boxes?
Those are all long boxes. So you figure 300 to a long box.
Oh my
There's
god.
about 50 long boxes.
Ooh.
So off the top of my head, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Goodness, 15,000. Is that 15,000?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
That's just in the long boxes, not counting 6 short boxes that probably have 150.
oh my god.
And
I'm gonna bet that your Caliber Presents is in there somewhere. You've just forgotten about it. I bet you have it.
I would love that to be the case. If it is, it would probably way back in the corner.
Wait, so the shrine. So let me just finish my story real quick. I went down there 1 month, and this guy who did not look like he has ever read a comic book, way too cool for school, was standing at one of the tables, and he had 4 short boxes, and he had like a cool leather jacket on, younger guy. And I walking around, I go over, I start looking through the books, and I pull out a Hulk 181.
Oh my
And
god.
this is like 2004, so it hasn't blown up like it has now. How much is this? He goes, $5.
You're kidding.
Holy
What the heck, man?
And I turn it upside down so that no one comes by and sees it, right? Because he was right. And then I go through and I find a Death Suit Man. And I go, how much is bagged? And I go, how much is this? And he goes, 50 cents. And I go, all right. And I find a third book. I can't remember what it was. And at that point, people had started to come over and they'd see me pull books, and they're looking at the books that I'm pulling. And they start pulling books. And I go, I tell you what, man, how much for everything? And everyone going through the books is like, wait, what did you just do? You can't do that. That's not fair. And he goes, I don't know, like $200. I go, done. $200. Oh, put everything back. Put everything back.
Smart man.
Oh, dang.
No,
cold-blooded.
so stupid. There was nothing else in there. It was all like
Oh.
9s and like first appearance of NFL Super Pro #1.
There you go.
It was a whole. He did it on purpose. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Wow.
Oh, he set you up.
Whoa.
The 181. Guess what? Marvel value stamp clipped. That guy knew what he was doing.
Oh, dang. Oh, man. It happens to all
Right?
of us.
Like, I honestly, I would have done the same thing. I mean, you kind of don't know, but you're seeing all these good things coming out, right? And you're like, you're seeing everybody else. You're starting to get like, starting to panic a little bit. It's like, you know what? I think there's more. There's more. So I would have done the same thing. I really would have.
So one thing I know what a value stamp is, and I know a couple of us know it is. But do you mind saying what it is so our audience understands what the value stamp is?
Marvel did, correct me if I get this wrong, Marvel did a whole line, I think it was over 2 months, where they printed in the editorial pages just a little picture of the different characters, and you could put them, they were called the Marvel value stamps, and I think they had a little postage, almost like a postage stamp, a value assigned to them, and you had a binder that you could buy or something, or mail away for
Something like that, yeah.
Put all the stamps in, and you have the stamp, and it was a horrifying thing for collectors now, because some of the biggest books, you got to look out. Page whatever 22 has this little box cut out of it. It's horrifying.
Yeah,
I know. I bought a 182 off of eBay, and I opened that thing up, and it's gone. I'm like, damn, I had to buy another one off Instagram. I was like, Jesus, they didn't even say it, but whatever. I kept it anyway. It's in nice condition. It's I could put it on the wall for my kid and whatever, but it's
a reader copy.
It's a reader copy, man. But I'm the same way too, man. I've been looking through. Me and this guy have been going back and forth about this collection. Yeah. And he keeps telling me, man, like, oh yeah, man, he goes, I got the first Punisher. I go, what number is that again? Just trying to check him. He's like, the first Punisher. I'm like, bro, you don't even know the number. You're just trying to hustle me, man. I'm going through his box. Like I went through like 2 or 3 of his boxes. He has a ton. He has like I think about 16 long boxes, right? Something like that. And I just kind of pick. I pick some, right? And there's 90s and stuff, and then there's some like bronze stuff, and there's a lot of numbers missing, man. So I'm like, bro, you're not catching a rookie, So
that's the dream, man. If you did find that, there's I don't know if you guys have seen the film High Fidelity. Do you know that film?
Yes.
I love that movie, man.
And the TV show.
Have you seen the deleted scene that's on the DVD and Blu-ray? It's on YouTube. There's a wonderful deleted scene. You guys should check it out where John Cusack goes to, it has nothing to do with the plot, it's just awesome. Goes to this woman's house and he says, hey, I saw the ad in the paper. You've got a record collection you're selling? She goes, yeah, it's over there. And she sits down with a glass of wine. He goes through it and he finds like, I don't know records that well, but you can see by his reaction, like as if we're looking and finding like X-Men 1, oh my God, Hulk 181, oh my God, all these amazing books. And he's getting excited. He says, how much for this? He's trying to be cool. How much for this one? She goes, $20 or $5. I think that's what she said. And it turns out she's a divorcee. Her husband ran off and said, sell my record collection and send me the money. And she doesn't want to take any more. She wants to take just less than the price of a flight back. And he doesn't do it. He can't do it. He can't bring himself to do it, to buy the collection from another man.
So
that's cool.
So it's funny because I don't know. Did you know they came out with a TV show for that?
I
For
haven't
High
seen
Fidelity.
I haven't seen it yet.
Good.
They redo that whole scene.
Oh yeah, and they have it.
Yeah, where it's a divorcee. She wants I think it was $1 for the whole collection.
No.
Because she found out her husband is leaving her for some trollop, and so she's like, I want it all gone. The only caveat is you have to take it now.
Right.
And it was like they showed like a David Bowie record that was air printing and stuff that's supposed to be like the Hulk 181 basically.
Yeah.
And she just can't do it.
Doesn't do it.
She actually went even to the bar, sat down with the husband because she knew where the wife said where he was. Realized the guy was a dick, but she was like, I just can't do it. He's a collector like me.
Would you guys do that in that situation? The same thing, but with comics?
I would. I won't lie. I'd be so on it, bro. I'd be so on it. I'd be like over, you know?
You would
Like,
do it. Hamza would do it. Rob, you would do it? Steve?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, JR?
It's scary the person that self-proclaims himself as the asshole of the group actually is having doubts if he would do it or not. I probably would. I actually know a friend that did a similar situation of that.
Yeah.
Well, he got a collection last year from a guy. It was his brother's collection, and his brother died.
Oh.
And he paid $1,000 for it. It was 3 long boxes, but it was a Hulk 181, Amazing Spider-Man 129, first Morbius, first Scott Lang, first Shang-Chi,
Wow.
all these ones, and they were all like 8.0s and higher. The Hulk actually, he got pressed and graded and came back at 9.4.
Damn.
He sold it for like $9,000.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he had a baby
$9,000.
coming. That's why he sold it.
Mm.
Yeah, it was pre-COVID though.
Do you guys believe in comic karma?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I totally do. Yeah.
It's interesting because you could look at that in both ways. You could look at that as it's bad comic karma to do that to somebody, or that is your karmic karma come manifest from something.
Yeah.
You guys know the most famous version of that kind of thing, that find? You guys know the Edgar Church story?
Mm-mm.
No.
The Mile High 1 collection?
Yeah, I heard
No,
about that.
tell us, man. I'm interested.
I'll tell you the short version of it. You should. Mile High Comics has a blog, and on that blog is a 14-part. It'll take you like an hour to read, but it's well worth it. Narrative of how this collection was found. But the Edgar Church collection is the most valuable single collection ever found. It was a guy, a advertising artist in like the 30s and 40s, and he bought off the newsstands the nicest, freshest copies of every comic book in a standing order. Every comic book, I want the nicest, freshest copy. And he had a reference library, right? So he used these if he needed to draw, got hired to draw an advertisement of 2 people drinking coffee. He would use comic books as a reference library. He had magazines too. Very luckily for the comic collecting world, he mostly used the magazines for references, and the comics were untouched. They're still sitting in milk crates, stacked on top of each other, milk crates. And it's a complete collection of everything, every comic, Marvel, DC, and all the other publishers from 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, including
Damn.
Tech 1-Up, Captain America 1-Up, Marvel Comics 1-Up, like all these books, some of the finest copies in existence of many early books. Sometimes the only copy in existence of some of these early books come from this collection. And it built up the comics. They bought it and they slowly sold it over years.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow, that's
Is it the one where it's like his name was on the on like the cover or somewhere or something like that?
I think his name is on the inside front page or inside cover maybe. The Larson collection, which is smaller but higher grade, is the one that has the signature on the cover. I'm a huge fan of all these crazy pedigrees.
But those would make it worth more though. Those actual writings, right? They make it worth more because it's part of that collection, right? That's what I think I remember.
It's the provenance back to the original owner.
Yeah.
TGC's website has a breakdown of all the collections that they certify as pedigree. It's really cool to see the stories behind them and the history of them, because we forget sometimes. Like you own the oldest book you guys own. Someone had to buy that off the rack. It's connected to history in a way that's really sometimes we forget. Pretty cool. Like this thing here. This thing, someone's had this for. I mean, this is 1935. Can you imagine the stories this thing could tell? If it could talk?
Yeah.
Crazy.
But like, I mean, I think, like, what's America, right? America's like blues music, right? Jazz music. America's hamburgers and McDonald's, right? But America's comic books too, because that's something that originated in America, right? That's Americana, like true Americana, right? Ford is Americana, comics, DC, Marvel, right? Like that's true American history, I guess you would say, right?
Totally. That's really the movie I'm trying to, the TV show I'm trying to make with the EC story. It starts with a guy named Max. I'll bore you for 1 second. I promise it'll be worth it. I'll do it quickly. It's a guy named Max Gaines, and Max Gaines had access to printers, and he was the one that decided to create the comic book. He was reading the Sunday papers, the funny papers, and he thought, if I fold this up and I do it what's now known as comic book size, and I give it away for free with products like shoes or toothpaste, people are more likely to buy that to get this to give to their kids. Proved so popular, he started selling them individually. This guy was also the same guy that two unknown creators were sending around their submission for a character they'd created. Everyone turned it down. Said there's something here, the character Superman. So he discovered Superman, sent it to his buddies at National Comics, co-created a company with them, didn't own Superman, but then co-owned Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Flash. Very silly, sold it during the war because the paper that they owned was so valuable and he couldn't deal with the partners anymore. Started his own company, Educational Comics, died in a boating accident where he saved a little kid's life. And his son, who wanted nothing to do with comics, had to take over, renamed it Entertaining Comics, and essentially created the persona that Stan Lee, I don't say ripped off, but in my point of view, that's where Stan Lee's persona came from. From that guy before William Gaines, and then created the modern comic as we know it, the sophisticated kind of storytelling. Then created Mad Magazine. It's this one lineage, just one family is the backbone of our entire art form, this American art form. And we don't talk about it enough. You guys are producing that? Or are you trying to get that up? Yeah, because I think my point of view is that everybody in the world now knows comic books because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yep.
And I don't think people know that they actually would like to know, well, how did this medium start? Where did this art form come from? I think it's fascinating. In kind of like a Mad Men kind of way. It is fascinating. It's real fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty new to collecting comics, like compared to like JR and Alonzo and Rob and and Steve, but I feel like it's like such a big part of America, and people just don't realize it, right? So. And all your books, I mean, it's kind of morbid to think all of our books will go to someone else. We're custodians of these books.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. At some point.
And how many times has it like been hand to hand, right? Like through generations, and that comic survived. Like I always think about it, right? Like I think my oldest is like the second parents of Juggernaut, right? Like how many? And that thing it's a foreign book, right? It has the pence, right? Like 5 cents, yeah. But my whole thing when I look at that, I'm like, how did it get to me? Because I got that at a flea market, right? I'm like, how did it cross? So how did this person get it from a newsstand out in England and bring it on probably a military base? Then it had to fly over, and how did it survive all that stuff, right? That's awesome. It's in good condition. Like so, someone loved it. Right, like that would be an awesome movie, right? To watch this comic kind of flow through history, right? Like through World War, whatever, and it flows all the way into the modern age, and it's in your hand, and it's just like this great grandpa comic, right? And it's slab. It's slab.
See, that's great.
No, mine's not slabbed. I have it in my box, but it's in really good condition. You know, but
I mean, they all have these stories.
It's fascinating, man.
But I think that's also why a lot of like digital comics hasn't caught on.
Yeah,
is because it's the feel of the books, the fact that I can have this book and then pass it to Alonzo or pass it to someone else. I can read digital book. It's great. Like for me, we're being part blind pretty much. It's nice to be able to open up the window and see like the names better, read better. But I still will never replace actually picking up a comic book and sitting there reading it.
So there's kind of an argument to that theory, JR. And I mean, trust me, I am in your position. I believe you should always have a book. I love to have that feel, that smell, that it just brings back memories. But if you look at records, if you look at tapes, you look at CDs, you know, you look at all of that stuff, all of that went digital. You know,
you are right, but records are starting to make a comeback.
Yeah,
Music is starting to go back to people want that. There's some type of soul in a record, people say, and so it's starting to go back that way.
You could refer it much like to comic books. I mean, the music is such a wide genre of, you know, I mean, different types of music, and just having a vinyl is so much more different. I know my cousin's a DJ and has been DJing for years, and he has some rare, you know, he's like off the wall just mixed with his music, but also has some like Buck Roger like records that are telling like stories and stuff like that, and it's just amazing to kind of witness, you know, just to look at his collection. And he also collects comic books, so going in his house is just a treat. You're just looking through ages of vinyl and just his long boxes of just old school stuff. It's just like I'm amazed.
I think also that there's each one of those mediums that you talked about, Alonso, the move to digital, you could argue enhanced or at least kept the experience the same. And I think comics, there is a subconscious or a nuanced difference with the digital medium. The closest we have is the iPad, right? Which is not comic format, it's slightly smaller. Artists and writers will build each page to be viewed as a page. Even though we're looking at a panel each time and moving around, we expect you to subconsciously be seeing the whole page. And if you just take any good comic book that you have, watch the eye track where the balloons are placed, it's trending your eye to certain places. Even sometimes the great artists will break a panel border. They'll have an arm or a foot or something break a panel border because they want you to go that way. Some artists will design backgrounds so that you're consuming all of that at once. When you do the panel by panel view, you break that and you're missing a component of the storytelling. More than that, we also think about page turns. You don't have those in digital. The kind of commercial breaks of comic books. As a publisher, I will move an entire book around. I'll move the ads around to preserve a big reveal. And the physical act of turning a page is something that there's a ton of evidence that suggests that it keeps the synapses working in a way that doesn't happen when you're flipping on digital, and it keeps you engaged in a way that digital comics can't replicate. In fact, early digital comic books, before the swipe, and if you guys remember, early digital comic books would auto swipe for you. What people found is that people fell asleep. It's not because the comics are bad, but literally comics aren't built to be a passive experience like the movies are. You can watch a movie and relax and not fall asleep because it's meant to just wash over you. Comics are they're a little more work. It's almost draining to read a good comic book because you're having to do so much intellectual work. This is different.
But I've never had it explained to me that way. That's
pretty dope.
It's my point of view, my one man's point of view, but I'm also a traditionalist that way.
But also to reinforce what you're saying about like placement. Like I remember reading a book called like Pride and Joy. That was an old Garth Ennis Vertigo title. And one picture's him looking in the room, seeing his daughter asleep in bed. The next panel, when you flip it, you're seeing, because he's looking for this killer, you see that the killer is hiding above the door. It's from the child's point of view. The kid is hiding above the door. And something like that on digital wouldn't work necessarily.
Totally. But there's so much, like David Lapham, this background that you guys have here from Here Trade. Look at this bottom left panel. It's these four faces. They're cut off right now. We've got four balloons. David does this, and the reason the word balloons are placed like this is because that last face is very important. And most of the acting on that panel is happening on that last person's face. And so if you look at the word balloons, the first one starts on the left, it's at the top, moves slightly lower. The next thing you see isn't the fourth word balloon, it's that guy's face. Even if for a split second, you register the acting, move up to the last word balloon, which takes you up to the top of the next page. That's not an accident. They think about that stuff. If you look at David Aha, he's maybe the most meticulous. There's a great image that's on his Twitter of someone asking him on the Hawkeye #1 cover why the arrow is where it is, and he did a whole, like, it looks like a mathematical diagram explaining all the grid lines, and he goes, it wasn't my choice, it couldn't be anywhere else, based on how I built the rest of the cover. And that's how they think. There's all this subtle imagery, all that stuff. These people, they spend an entire lifetime, 18 hours a day in front of a board drawing, learning this skill set. They're better cinematographers. I've worked in them, I've made a movie, than a lot of the cinematographers that work in the movie business. They're real geniuses, man. They're really, really
crazy.
How does this translate? Because you're doing producing movies now. How does this all translate into the movies? Like, how do you teach like a director to translate it right into a movie?
This is why there's so many bad movies. You don't, it translates very poorly because the movie business is a perceived to be a higher art form. It's certainly a more popular art form. Certainly there's more money in it. So there's a tendency to look at comics as a more artistically sound medium. And then on top of that, the whole business is just, because of the money, because of the egos, it's just built not to make good stuff. When something good comes out of the movie business, usually by accident or because someone has so much power that they can just say no to everyone else. And oftentimes also that power puts them over the edge. You see so many great directors, usually directors, ultra medium, will amass power, make something really good, and then they'll fall apart. Like, look at, I'm Indian, my boy M. Night Shyamalan had this amazing peak, and now it's like, come on, bro.
That's how I feel about Tim Burton.
Tim Burton's another great example. They get to that place where they're no longer questioning themselves, and the power becomes destructive. It's hard.
Oh man. So
I use very, very hard that way.
So how do you do it though, man? Like, you're doing movies and you're doing comic, you're doing Bad Idea too. Like, yeah. How is there two Dineshes or something like that, man? Like, how do you do it, bro?
I love working. I work a lot. I try to always be on. You learn little tricks about efficiency as well, and I've got this incredible team, man. My whole team from Valiant that I thought was one of the best teams in comics. We won a ton of awards, set a bunch of sales records. We played Moneyball with far less resources than almost everybody else in comics. We were batting very, very high, just below Marvel and DC, and that team came over with me, and so they do a lot of the heavy lifting. And we're all blessed. I mean, everyone that I work with is type A. They work real hard. If I wanted to do a conference call with any group of my team members in any of the companies I'm working at right now, it's 9 o'clock here, they'd be game. So you're always on. And we know, it's just like, I get to make movies and TV shows and comic books and toys, and it's just fun. It's just super lucky. It might end. That's the other thing, is like, it's no guarantee I'll be able to do this the rest of my life. I'll do this as long as people think I'm good at it.
Because you got into it, you got into it super young, right? Like you got Valiant in your, I think, 20s, right? Like, yeah. Right, like you were like us, right? It's like Alonzo or JR who were like, or Rob, super nerds, right? Like, yeah. And you jumped in, like, how did? That's crazy, man.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah, bro.
I was a big Valiant fan. So my origin, I won't bore you guys. I'm trying to do it very quickly. My origin story.
You're not boring us, man. Go ahead.
We're interested. Hong Kong. And I didn't know about comic books until a buddy of mine in high school introduced me to them. And he was a little sneaky in terms of business. So it was actually trading cards. I didn't know even how trading cards worked. He got trading cards from his father, who went to US to do business trips, bring back trading cards and comic books. He'd open up the trading cards and he would give me one. And I didn't know they came in packs. And then he would try and sell me one by one. I didn't know they came in packs of 6. So he's selling me one for the price of the pack. He thinks he's like 13 years old. I think he's getting away with murder. Probably was. Starts giving me some comic books, gets me addicted. I stopped buying comics from him because there's no one who sells comics in Hong Kong. Comic shop opened in Hong Kong. I remember this big moment for me. I went to this comic shop. It was like Die Hard when they open up the first Die Hard, when they open up the vault and the Beethoven plays. I was like, oh my God, look at those comic books. Before that, just Wizard magazine. And I didn't know really Marvel DC characters beyond Batman from the movies, Superman from the movies, big movie guy. I didn't know the X-Men. I knew Hulk from that cheesy TV show, and I knew Spider-Man from cartoons. Didn't really know Iron Man, etc. Gravitated towards Valiant. Huge Valiant fan. Then I got older, left comics behind, and the 90s bubble pop. I was still there for, I think, later than most, but then I left it behind. Back in the movies, film school, moved to USC. I'm in film school, and I lied a lot when I was in film school. This is kind of what you got to do when you're trying to break in the film industry. I got internships at places like Paramount Pictures and Universal Studios, pretending I'd already graduated. And I moved all my classes to like 1 or 2 days, and I'd be sick every Thursday and Friday. They caught on, and they eventually thought I was smart. But I realized that it's very hard to get into the business, and I was seeing this trend of, I remember walking into Universal Studios the Monday after X-Men 1 opened at 65 million. And everybody on the lot had no idea why this movie had made that much money. And I knew it's because we'd never heard it before. It's Wolverine, it's the X-Men. And I thought, that's weird. And then I remember a couple months later, Spider-Man 1 is the biggest grossing movie of all time, highest grossing film of all time, 114 million, I think. That Monday morning, I walk into Universal Studios. I'm like a CE there, like the lowest rung. And again, everyone is confused. Why did this movie do so well? I was like, this doesn't make any sense. This generation is legions of Spider-Man fans. I started to realize I know something for a second before the rest of the business does. I started to realize IP is important. So I go, well, what happened to Valiant? I started Googling it. It was sold to a video game company. The video game company had embezzled some money. They went out of business. And there was a bankruptcy auction. Now, I grew up in Hong Kong. It's a wealthy place. I wasn't wealthy, but I had some wealthy friends. So I made a little list of wealthy friends that loved comic books. And top of that list was that guy that broke open those trading cards. Very wealthy. And I called him and I said, hey, we should do this thing. He was studying to be an entrepreneur at Wharton, not Wharton, but the BA school. Wharton's the master's degree school, UPenn. And I said, we're not going to get it, but let's at least go through the process of doing our due diligence and going through this bankruptcy auction, and we'll learn something. So what that means is you go read all the documents. You get to go to the warehouse, see the documents. That was a blast. They basically took the van offices, put them in boxes. So you get to go through all that stuff, find the documents that are helpful to valuing the company. And then you go to a bankruptcy auction. Now, I was very lucky. One of the bidders at the auction, there's only 3 bidders at the auction, 86 companies put down the deposit to do due diligence. All the biggest companies, EA, Sony, Google, etc. Only 3 parties came to the auction because all the relevant documents were gone. They never had them for due diligence because I noticed till the auction, one of those 3 parties is the former CEO of the video game company. His brother ran the law firm that was meant to deliver the documents. So of course they kept getting lost in the mail. Who had time, I managed to get from the due diligence documents a list of all the employees in the publishing division. And I went through that list and I called them one by one and I got all the documents that they didn't have. And so I knew that the rights to most of the characters were there, that I wasn't buying nothing. Because it was an as is, whereas auction, meaning whatever you're buying, we don't know, you just buy this thing. They may have sold it all off already. So I went to the auction, had managed between some friends and family to come up with a certain amount of money and outbid the former CEO of Acclaim, but couldn't outbid this third guy. And he was a former marketing manager from Marvel. And I gotta be careful, I don't wanna get myself in trouble. He did something that he was accused was not proper, kind of like a boiler room scheme, but for money. So he had more money to play with, and he wanted to buy a publishing company. He's a huge comic fan. Tried to buy CrossGen, Disney bought CrossGen. He ended up winning the auction for Valiant. That same day, the 4th party that couldn't afford to bid filed intent to use trademark applications, throwing a monkey wrench into the auction, basically splitting the rights in half, trademarks and copyrights. Lead bidder pulls out. The guy from Acclaim, he'd already put his money somewhere else. I'm the only bidder left. I negotiate a reduced price. I get into a legal battle for 2 years. I win the legal battle. Again, I won't bore you guys with how, but all sorts of detective nonsense. Win the legal battle, and I found myself at 24, head of Valiant, not knowing even how comic books are made, not having any resources. Dicked around for about 7 more years by the skin of my teeth, not knowing what to do. Lucky break, Marvel was sold to Disney, and I got in touch with the son of the former CEO of Marvel. I'd read his Harvard Business case study on how to run a publishing company, and I'd been modeling Valiant on that. And his son was very excited about the opportunity with Valiant because I kept showing him old Wizard magazine articles. Being this thing, biggest thing ever, knowing full well Wizard was hyping the shit up, right? Pump and dump.
Yeah.
He didn't know that. He never heard of pump and dump. So I said, look, 9 of the top 10 books in August 1993 were Valiant books. bigger than Marvel. His dad knew. His dad was like, whatever. But his dad saw an opportunity to work with his son, to have an experienced son. So they both came in, they invested. And I had built a team that I wanted to hired that team, and then started publishing. And I'd spent, as I said, 8 years trying to get stuff off the ground. So I'd made all the mistakes. When we started publishing, there were no other choices to make but what turned out to be the right ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's my Valiant story.
So what titles did you, because I mean, I remember when Valiant first came out, it had Harbinger, and I'm trying to think, Hardcore,
Bloodshot,
another one, Bloodshot, Jack, Ray, Turok.
Yeah.
Archer and Armstrong.
During your time, did Quantum and Woody come out? I mean, what was? Because I remember there being a big one.
So I'm very excited, Jay. I'm going to send you some books because if you haven't read these, because I love Valiant. They're my favorite characters in all the world. My favorite character in any medium anywhere is Magnus, which I never got to play with. So when I got a hold of Valiant, it was a broken, distressed asset, they call it. Magnus, Soul, and Torok, 3 characters in Gold Key. The license had lapsed. What Acclaim had very foolishly done is they had a license. Jim Shooter had negotiated a license in perpetuity, which means we don't own it, but we get to control it forever. As long as you publish even one comic book, it's the Watchmen deal, right? Except Gold Key did it knowingly. No one got screwed like Alan Moore got screwed. They did it knowingly because they didn't know what to do with the assets, and they trusted Jim Shooter and that team. So Acclaim had inherited this. Acclaim had made a video game out of Torah. It was very big. They didn't pay the royalties to the IP holder. So they bartered a deal where they said, we'll give you back the right in lieu of royalties. So when I got a hold of the characters, the rights had reverted back already.
Right.
So I had these 3 big holes in the universe. I had everything else. And I had the Acclaim characters like Quantum Woody. So I started very slowly, because how do you build a universe? You build it, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You build it one piece at a time. And Warren Simons, who was eventually became Arden-in-Chief, was our executive at the time, and I sat down and just focused on, let's redesign the X-Men costume, and we'll focus on that. And actually, the artist that did the Ultimate Fallout 4 variant cover, Marko Djurjevic, and his wife, Yelena, who I think is more talented than Marko, redesigned that costume. And we had tons of people. J.G. Jones did a redesign on it. And a bunch of big name artists. Warren it was a big editor at Marvel, so we had a lot of relationships, which was very valuable to us. We redesigned this costume, put out X Amount of War, put out Harbinger next, did 4 titles in something called Summer Valiant, Exo Harbinger, Bloodshot, Archer, Armstrong. They were huge hits, critical darlings, and we just went from there slowly, and never published more than 8 issues a month, which was exactly the number that Marvel published for the first 10 years. That's a conscious choice. Titles, so we put them to pasture for a year, bring them back, so that the demand built up again. Tried to not think that we were smarter than the original creators, so we retold the stories in a modern way, then started to evolve the mythologies of X Amount of War, etc. Then started to add new characters, and the character called Divinity, which is essentially a Solar hybrid, and the character called Savage, essentially a Torok hybrid. Never quite got to do my Magnus guy. I think I'm just too much of a Magnus fanboy. I couldn't, I
can understand that.
Get there. But we were the best reviewed publisher in the business. Every month I ran that company, Comic Book Roundup, named us the #1 reviewed publisher in the business. I won.
I remember that.
500 awards in that 7-year span. So many that the Harvey Awards moved to New York Comic Con. We were nominated in 2015 for more Harvey Awards than every other publishing combined.
Wow.
Some of the categories we had like 4 of the 5 nominations.
Oh my god!
Crazy.
Very books. So I'll send you some. I think you'll.
Definitely. I'm always about reading.
That doesn't get hooked and read everything we did. And it's heartbreaking because I started to lay the seeds. I did an event called Book of Death, where Valiant historically did a book called Rise Zero, where they told the future of all their characters, how they died, what happened to them. So I did my version of that. I did a book called Book of Death, which had an 8-page sequence that showed little glimpses, decades in the future. And my plan was every year to make one of those things come true. And I only got to do one, but every year I would have done something like that.
That's cool.
Awesome, man.
That's cool.
I mean, I got one of the Bad Idea books, but I'm a big fan now. How is that experience going to transfer over? How is it transferring into Bad Idea?
I think it is in many ways the evolution of what I was trying to do at Valiant. When you work on a character, no matter how much you love it, like X Amount of War, you have to tell a story. You have to tell a new story like a movie. every 4 months. Story arc is roughly 4 issues. And you do that for 8 years, you kind of run out of, as much as you like Star Wars, you're going to run out of Star Wars stories that you want to tell. And I got to a place where I was starting to find, I was running out of gas with some of these characters. I needed to break. And so, but I knew the fans had not run out of gas because they're not thinking about it all day like I am. So I was trying to have my cake and eat it too. So I got together with, Dynamite had gotten the Magnus Torok license. They wanted to do a crossover list because they knew it would make money. And I not wanted to do that. I didn't think I thought it was too early for us to bring those characters back and not own them. So I went to them and I said, let's do a crossover. We'll do one big crossover. My guys will write it. Can you bring your artists? Because they had like Alex Ross and people like that. And so they agreed, and we were going to do that. And I was going to do that event. And out of that event, I was going to do an event called Harbinger Wars 2. And it was going to break the universe. And out of that event was going to come this crossover and a bunch of stuff that was very not what the fans had thought of as Valiant. A bunch of crazy new ideas. Me thinking, okay, I've gotten my head around publishing. Let me try and break things a little bit here. But I can't just do that. My fans will get upset. So I'll give them this thing that they want more than anything, Magnus Torok. At the same time, here's the medicine. And then there was a coup at Valiant. The company was bought. I did very well, and I made a lot of money, which wasn't my goal, but I'm very happy to have made a lot of money. No one's ever talking about that. And I thought I still like all those ideas, but now I have a fresh slate. So bad idea, self-distributing, because it gives me a lot more control over what I can and can't do. No variants, no digital, no trades. I want people to go into stores, buy physical books. I'm going to publish very few books. I'm going to do a lot of crazy things, like all my books are going to have backups. So every single issue you buy will essentially be a first appearance. That's not why I'm doing it. I just want to be able to experiment with stories that are shorter, so I can just take crazy chances and push into a lot of genres comics haven't done in a long time. Horror, comedy. I mean, I worked in a shared universe for so long, I'll probably end up making the whole thing a shared universe. Got some superhero stuff I'm playing with. Hero trade is essentially, I was thinking about it this way. Marvel is a very specific tone. DC is a specific tone. Valiant's tone in relation to those is more grounded, more character-driven, more flawed, more science-based. Then you've got like Sin City, which is noir. You've got Acid City, which is kind of like 50s rose-tinted glasses. And those are really as far as, and then you've got like things like The Boys, Garth Ennis, let's call it, which like, I hate comics. I hate superheroes, they're stupid, they're juvenile, but I work in them and I'm going to make fun of them. Those are really all the points of view that we have in comics. And all those companies are really bound by their mythology. Rarely they can break out of it, like when Marvel does Marvel Zombies, they go post-apocalyptic and you get fresh stories from older characters. Otherwise it's hard to come up with fresh stories. So with the hero trade, which will be an ongoing thing that we'll do, we kind of approached it as, what would happen if someone like Elmore Leonard or Quentin Tarantino told a superhero story? And you would get these weird things happening that you haven't seen superheroes do before. It's not quite noir, it's almost ground level. And so the story of the hero trade is, you've got this guy, and he's driving around, it's 8 pages, you've got this guy driving around one night, he's got a superhero in the trunk, essentially Superman. And he's driving around to all these criminals, and he's saying, I'm gonna sell you a piece. You want the arm? $2 million. You want the legs? $4 million. $10K? I can give you a pinky, best I can give you. You want the blood? $5 million. He's gonna get as much money as he can, he's gonna fuck off into paradise. And these people are going to do all sorts of different things with these. I mean, if you could have a piece of Superman and deconstruct that, maybe make your own Superman, maybe turn yourself into Superman, live forever, who knows? It's a very valuable commodity. How he killed this guy, how he's in the trunk, what happened, we very purposely give you small clues, but we're going to tease all that stuff out with everything we're doing a bad idea. And David,
it's too bad it's not showing the trunk right there, because I have the trunk right behind your box, so the guys can see. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it. Though. I could see the top panels, obviously the opening of the trunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
The hood.
But we're going to reprint the story in our first launch book is called ENIAC. And we're going to reprint the story in ENIAC issue 3 as a backup, so that no one feels like they have to spend, I think this book's like a $1,200 book now.
It's worth a lot, man. It's like the book of the year, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. That's nice. People can send it to me. It's really, really fun to see. And yeah, so we're just gonna do weird stuff, man. Stuff we think is cool.
But why bad idea, man? Where'd that come up? Because I think it's a cool phrase, right? Like it's like, oh, I'm down for a bad idea. Like that chick you see, like I don't know about her, but it's a bad idea. Let's go, Like,
or anytime you and I are together is a bad idea.
It's a bad idea, man. Anytime I bring Rob to one of my honey holes, it's a bad idea. So
It was highly negotiated, highly thought about. I like in naming. One of the benefits of running a publishing company is you get to name a lot of characters, a lot of books, and naming is very important. Names have power. I like to find a name that is remarkable in the sense that people have something to say about it. I like to find a name that people feel that they see that version of themselves in it. So the two of you guys talking about your instincts about how your bad idea is wonderful, makes me so happy. I think that it's a thing people will say in the creative world where they'll say, it needs to have more of a romance angle. Here's the bad idea. Why don't they kiss, right? But really, the core behind why it's called bad idea is because everything I'm doing is going to seem like a terrible decision on the surface. And I just want people to know up front, like, look, I'm not saying that I did the opposite of Valiant, $10 trades. You can't find the book, I'll find it for you. I'll make it accessible anywhere you want to be. Not just digital, anywhere. I will stand in the shop, in your personal shop, and hand you the book myself. Here I'm doing the opposite. I'm going to say to you, I don't really care if you can't find it, man. Like, if you really want it, go find it. It's only in 100 stores. I'm only going to print so many. When they sold out, they're sold out. They're all bootlegged. Everything's free online. If you really care and you want to pirate it, go for it. I don't care. And that's I think most publishing executives say, this is a great way to lose money. I think the hero trade has proven that we're able to tap into something we're not thinking about. Something you guys know all about.
Yep. Yeah. I'm lucky that Matthias is my shop nowhere. That right when it came out, man, he was already pumping it up to us. We're like, all right, man, I'll fill it out. We had the little cutout like coupon, whatever it is, and we had to fill it out and put which ones we wanted. It's already in, know. But
thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I was in from the start, man. Any of you guys' shop have bad idea?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at my shop, that Empire Comics, and talk to him, because Ben's all about supporting like small companies and stuff of that nature.
I chat with them. I think they are. I don't think we've announced them yet because we've gotten more. We announced our 100 a little while ago now, and because of COVID, we've been able to add more for the launch. I think they're part of the launch.
Let's put it this way: tomorrow, I'll send him a text and talk to him. Him and I are good friends, and so I can ask him if he did it.
I know at my shop it's right. The I don't. It's just the survey. I don't know what it is. It's because survey, right? Yeah, it's right there at the cashier register at my shop. Like, you can just
to be, we made every store that signs up. We made them agree to certain rules. Rules like you display our books at the counter. You give us the best space in the store. You whatever you want to sell the book for, you cannot sell it for more than cover price for 30 days. If the book blows up, you're stuck selling it for 30 days at cover price because I want people to go in and get them. You can't sell more than one copy to a person. Can't do it. And stores that I hear don't listen.
Do you have a list of stores? I want to know if my store is on there, because I've not seen any bad idea books.
If you go to badideacorp.com, our website,
I got it for you.
Top left, there's a thing that says store. Thank you, and it has a list of our stores. We launch in March of next year, our first book.
Man, I'm looking forward to it, man. I think Rob, is your shop is Kamikaze part of it?
I don't know. I gotta double check that. If they're not, I'm telling them to be a part of it for sure.
You can just come to my shop.
Yeah,
you gotta drive to North County though. Yeah, so so with Bad Idea, man, and you're also like a partner at Hive Mind, right? Like the Hive Mind Studios, right? Like, how's that? Is that gonna interject anyway?
They're separate companies. I've actually started a second. So I am a founder of Hive Mind. Hive Mind did The Witcher. We did The Witcher together, and Witcher's become such a big thing. The Hive Mind essentially become the Witcher company. I started a second company, took all my projects from Hive Mind there, like the Great Fantasy Show, and announced Luther Strode at this company called All Nighter. They were all separate companies. They were all arm's length, but I'm a connective tissue to them. So I would be surprised if we do the hero trade and I'm talking to James Wan or James Gunn or Vin Diesel or whatever, and tell them about the hero trade. One of those guys is going to get excited. And be foolish. It's not good business to not tell them about it. There's no mandate.
Yeah.
The partners in the company, my all-nighter partners, have to like hero trade. But if James Gunn is like, oh my God, I want to make this movie, no one's going to say, we're not going to do that.
And this seems like a movie that James Gunn would like too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
The hero action is such like a, such a core, like us guys, us like fucking super nerds, like the core underground, the core base is like super excited about it, man. Like it's just like, I mean, when I got it, man, you should have seen my fucking DM box, bro. It was crazy. Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not selling it. No, it's gonna be on my wall. I'm buying a house. It's gonna be like at the door. I'm gonna put it there, man. Like it's dope, bro. Like, yeah, they were DMing me already, bro. Like I had like 10 DMs. Yeah, 10 DMs. It's crazy.
I'm
and I was
already
like,
on the site. I know one of my comic book stores has you guys, so I'm excited. I will be heading there this weekend immediately.
I would if you guys are interested. I hate to sell, but if you guys are interested, I would highly recommend that you pre-order the books, because with COVID and shipping and all that, who knows what happens. I want to make sure you guys get the books.
Yeah, so I just checked. My LCS isn't part of it. So how do I get it if my LCS isn't?
If you ask them to get in touch with us, whether it's officially through our email or through social media, however they want, not really doing a thing where we pick the stores. We just say to them, here are the 6 rules. If you're in, great. We're gonna, and what we try to do is we try to do a ton of promotion for them. So while we ask for a lot, we do a lot too. And the Hero Trade's a great example. Every one of those stores got a copy of this book. It's a $1,200 book. We gave them a $1,200 note. And before that, when COVID happened, a lot of publishers were saying, pencils down, we're gonna stop publishing. They really left the stores in trouble. I took our entire budget for marketing for 2020, our launch, divided it by 100 stores and sent them checks and said, I can't publish right now, but I can help pay the bills for a little bit.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But you're doing it like the smart way though, Dinesh. Like going on Drunken Chat is where it starts, because Drunken Chat's a big show for us comic collectors, and it kind of starts there and it burbles, until it burbles to like all of everybody else. Like that was a great move, man. Like it got me super excited because I signed up because Matthias was like, you got to do this, man. You got to. Here's an order form, the little form, and you got to order it. I want all you guys order. All my hardcores got to order it. So we ordered it, man, and I'm stoked. But you got me super stoked when I saw you in the show, with it and talking about it, because I didn't know much, but now I'm super stoked about it, and I think that's the way the whole comic world is kind of right now, man. So.
I'll be honest with you, I probably shouldn't be saying this. One of my big problems right now is I'm seeing the initial pre-orders and I'm like, it's wonderful. But I'm like, I wish the numbers were a little lower. Because in my mind, numbers would be like Walking Dead #1 numbers, because we're an independent publisher. And I'd love to do that. And then a year later, when I'm able to get some of the film and TV stuff, some of the licensing, start to build a company like I did Valiant, have people be like, I can't find a copy, and the heat. Boy, but I'm starting to see numbers that they're not high. They're still smaller compared to like Boom and Dark Horse. That they're a little higher than I would like.
But still, even companies like Boom, you look at something like We're Killing the Children #1 and stuff.
Huge.
They're hard to find.
Yeah.
So I mean,
great job. They've been a great year for them.
Yeah, I mean they're really falling on my radar. I mean, I'm going nuts over. I haven't even read the first issue yet.
It's great.
He has me hunting down all the something and killing the children stuff for him. So
it's good. If you haven't read Department of Truth, you should check that out.
I read that too.
Oh, awesome. we're all over that book.
We're all over that book, man.
I actually I just ordered. Well, I think myself and Steve ordered it from Scott's Collectibles. They got variant covers coming in for #2 that they only did like 100 of them.
Smart, because I have my ear to the ground in Hollywood. I will tell you, mostly books that pop in comics, they're not on the radar in Hollywood. Every single person I know in Hollywood is talking about this book. I would not be surprised if there was a big announcement. I don't know that I wouldn't be surprised.
Steve got to 1 in 100, man. He put down money for it. We're like, you baller, bro. Now he's like a super baller.
You did very well.
I will say I read
amazing.
How many are out? First 3. How many are out so far?
There's only 2 so far.
2.
Okay, I got to see me, I guess. 3 was good, dude. I hate to be that guy now. I know spoilers. Amazing.
Yeah, no, you read it.
How did you get this? Are you tight with Tinian?
No, I don't know him at all. But I know his reps. I know his agent in Hollywood. And I have some producer friends. Like I was saying, everyone I know in Hollywood has been telling me about this, and because I'm a comics guy. Everyone in Hollywood wants like an authentic comics guy. They play this weird game where they'll be like, "Hey, I know so and so," and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, well I know Dinesh," and they try to like play us against each other, but we don't know each other because comics is a tiny little business. So people have been sending me the book saying like, have you checked this out? I had someone send me links to the first 3 that he must have had. They must have talked about doing something.
It reads like a good movie though, right? It reads like a really good movie, man. I could see it like all cinematic, or on like Netflix or something like that.
Yeah, the pacing's very good. Like when you go from the first issue, from the first to the end, and then the second issue, the pacing's fantastic. It's written really well. The art, I'm like a little, but I like the story.
I like the
But see, I'm not a big fan of the art either. But I think the art is perfect for the book.
Me too.
Because it's the whole thing of you can't trust your eyes.
Yeah.
You can't trust what you see, and so they're purposely making the art so it's kind of like, am I seeing that right? Is that what the fuck am I looking at? And so it's that whole mind game. Now you're playing the whole meta thing of what are they trying to relate to me? What am I not seeing because of the art? And it's just a whole mind fuck. And now we got this villain in this new issue where you're going like, okay, so now you're going to horror?
Yeah.
I mean, the Star Child or whatever that hell the guy is.
Yeah, with the star on his face. Yeah.
Yeah, the pentagram and everything.
Yeah, he's a big part of 3. I think that'll be the villain of the piece. And the introduction of that character, as you're saying, the art, you're not even really sure what you're seeing there.
Yeah. And I kind of like that because it's make it so, like when I read novels, we have to imagine what the characters look like, and so it's even more so relying on me rather than the artist, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, it's that whole Marilyn Monroe character with the X's in her eyes. It's like that's the bad idea, girl, right? Like that's what it gives me. It's like I don't want to mess with her, but I kind of do, right? Like it's kind of funny, man.
I don't know what they're doing with her, but she seems like she's gonna be a big piece as well.
I think she's gonna be like Jack Ruby's daughter or something.
Maybe.
But let me ask.
She's wearing a red dress.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, Dinesh. Like I know you're in the movies and stuff. Like and you're like on the studio lots. Like and with Hive Mind. Like can you tell us one really good Hollywood story that you've been in? One really good one, man.
Sure. Is there whenever anyone says something like that, you suddenly blank. Is there a famous a person you like or a lot, something that'll jog a memory for me? Something that'll help me, anyone have anything?
Henry Cavill.
Stories that I should not tell. There are I should not.
Zack Snyder.
There you go. I'll tell you a Zack Snyder story that is not mine to tell, and it probably is not true. I'm saying that for legal reasons, but here's what I've heard that. I really shouldn't tell a story.
We can edit it out.
Do it.
Do it. No, our audience should see this, man. This is what we're all about, bro. Do it.
I will. Hold on one second. Let me think for a second, because I should tell you the Zack Snyder story. We should not air it, and then I'll tell you a different story that we should air. I'm sorry, audience.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Kevin Smith story.
The thing is, you only hear bad stories about people. Okay, no, I'll tell you a Vin Diesel story that's going to sound bad, but it's actually genius. And
okay, cool. Let's do it.
Story that the audience wants.
Okay, let's hear the Vin Diesel story.
This one I was there for. Okay, so Vin Diesel is, as all movie stars are, is a very demanding actor. Okay, you don't get to build 4 franchises, become this giant, maybe the biggest social media star in the world. Now with a musical. What do they call the chart? The Billboard chart, charting musician, and a millionaire and a movie star for decades by accident. There's a method to your madness. So he's very demanding and he demands a lot. And we were shooting on Bloodshot. We were shooting the last scene, not the last thing we were shooting, but it's the scene that is at the end of the movie, and it's towards the end of the schedule. And we had a very difficult shoot for a lot of reasons. And so we were running out of the days that we had allocated. We kept having to move days around. So we only had about a week and a half left, and we were shooting this scene. And he walks up in his big entourage, and he calls me and the director into his big base camp. And he wants to go over the page. We go over the pages, and he goes, and he says, fine, okay. And then he goes, I want to see the location. Because we've been in this movie, if you've seen this movie, it's very contained. And this is when we're opening up now. He very much rightly feels that the audience needs to see like a big vista so they can breathe after being contained this whole movie. And we go and we see the thing, and it looks terrible. By my own admission, it was terrible because we didn't get the location we wanted. We couldn't figure out how to schedule the days right, so we got a secondary location, and it looked like a dirty soccer field, right, with some trees in the back. And he goes out there with us, and he's like, basically says, "What the fuck is this? Like, what are you guys playing at?" And we're like, "No, Vin, you gotta matte painting, set extensions. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do this." And he's looking at us like, first time director, first time producer, right? He's a long time stuff. You can't sell him on this, right? He knows better than all of us. And he's like, what happened really? So I go, look, I had a good relationship with him, I think, because I was always honest with him. And I said to him, look, what happened is we've had these troubles on the movie. We've had to move days around, and we've run out of days, and we've got to finish on the finish date. And there was no other day to shoot this scene. We had to shoot it this day. Something had to fall. This one fell. We got our second location, not our primary location. And he went, okay, show me the location that you wanted. So I pulled up my phone, I showed him, and it's the one in the movie. It's amazing. He looks at that and he goes, I get it. I understand. It's okay. Let's go back to base camp. Let's talk about the script. All right. He's being awfully cool about this. We just talked about the script, but okay. So we go to the base camp. We'll talk about the script. And he sits us down and he goes, I'm just going to get a quick bite to eat. Why don't you two, my assistant and my bodyguard, talk to them first? I know you guys have notes. We've been at this movie for it's like 90 days of shooting. I've never gotten a note from an assistant or a bodyguard. They're lovely people. I'm still friendly with them now. But it's very strange for the movie star to say, my assistant and my bodyguard have notes on the script on the day of shooting. And we spend, no joke, 6 or 7 hours sitting in his base camp while the entire crew, I'm talking 400 people, including with this location, had snakes. So we had to hire 12 snake wranglers to walk the perimeter the whole time. This is a lot of money we're just wasting while we're going over these notes. These were terrible, ridiculous notes. God bless them, they thought they were great notes. And I was losing my temper a little bit. The director had to calm me down. So I was like, that's just nonsense. And then finally hours and hours go by, and he finally comes back and he goes, how are we doing with it? We did some rewriting. Here are the pages. He looks at the pages. He goes, yeah, they're good. Okay, let's shoot. And I go, Vin, we can't. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, look at the sun. We lost the sun. We spent so many hours here. We're gonna have to. Can't shoot it today. And he goes, oh, okay. What are you gonna do? And I go, well, I'm gonna call the studio. I'm gonna tell them that we reran the script and we have to shoot it another day. And he goes, so maybe you can get the location you wanted this time. And he wasn't punishing us. And I think a lot of people would tell you that story and say he was punishing us. But what he was actually doing is he's so good at this. He's done it for so long. He understands. When he was looking at us saying, I get it, I know what's happened, he wasn't saying, I get it, I know we have to figure out the schedule. He's saying, you ran out of, as the first time producer and first time director, you ran out of juice with the money, people. So let me give you some of my juice. We're going to burn a day. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, so you don't have to lie. And you go back and tell them the star is being crazy. The star made me rewrite the script. So ridiculous, he made me rewrite the script from the assistant's notes and the bodyguard's notes. I told them the story. They didn't bat an eye. Great, go another day, no problem. This is $1 million decision. They just felt bad for me. It was like, I can't believe you have to do that. Here you go, another day. We got the location. He knew how to work the system.
Man, working with Vin Diesel, huh, and Henry Cavill, right? Like, that must be awesome, though, man. Like, just the whole experience and all those stories, man. I know there's stories you can't tell us, but I bet you got a ton, man.
It's fun, but even working with, it's not the movie stars are the most fun because there's a lot of pressure from them. It's like the set decorator, the concept artist, the composer. They're like all so freaking talented. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
It brings the most talented people from all the disciplines together, and they're just really down to earth people. It's like comics, man. You see these artists at conventions, and they're just sketching away, and they're like, as good as they should be in a museum. Some of them are.
Well, and I imagine also seeing something like taking like The Witcher, which was a video game and a novel, and taking it from this little thing and turn it into an actual world. I mean, that was so well done. I mean, you watch it, and once you figure out, okay, there's a couple different timelines going on here, you just kind of fall into it, and you're just like down this rabbit hole. Like, this is real. I mean, it's so well done, so entertaining.
It was.
And we're all looking forward to the next season of that.
Mm-hmm.
My partners, I'm going to credit them here, Jason Brown and Sean Daniel, worked their ass off on this new season. I think you guys are going to be pretty happy. It's a big step up from the last one. But the books also, man, I mean, these things are based on the books as much as the games.
Yeah.
Super well written.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't know much about it before I saw it. I just remember everyone telling me, you got to watch it. Just give it a chance. Like, watch 3 episodes and you're hooked. And it's true. It's very much that way.
This has been super fun, guys. I had a blast.
No, hey, can I hit you with some? Can I hit you up with some rapid fire questions before we sign off?
Yeah.
All right, man. It's some real quick questions, man. So, what's your favorite '80s song?
My favorite '80s song?
Yeah,
I have so many, but I will say the first one that's coming to mind right now is "Take on Me" by Aha. I don't know why that's coming to mind.
This is the best '80s song ever.
they just had a comic with the alternate cover for that. Yeah,
it's
one hit wonder.
Man, you listen to Manhattan Skyline. I think they're 2-hit wonder.
And In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A?
I've never had Chick-fil-A. Never had it. I've just, for whatever reason, I haven't had it. I don't even know if they are in LA. Love In-N-Out.
Yeah,
so In-N-Out every time.
In-N-Out all time, man. Barbecue, brisket, or salad?
How do you do your In-N-Out, man? You got to have the secret menu items. How do you guys do it?
I just get the number one, man. Number one with onions, and I keep it simple, man. I keep it simple. How about you guys?
I go
Animal style.
now.
I don't do In-N-Out.
No In-N-Out.
Oh my god! You guys don't know the menus though?
No. We have In-N-Out here. I just don't like it because soon In-N-Out, unless you're eating it right then and there.
Yes.
I don't think it tastes as good. I think if you
that's why you eat it there.
Yeah. What are you doing?
What you doing? You taking it home?
If I'm gonna eat at a burger place, I got a place here in town called Flaming Grill. Has 80 different beers. Has all kinds of different meats. Like I had mountain lion there. They have yak, llama, all these different meats.
Man meat, you know.
You get a burger, and when you get a burger, it's not this little. Oh, here's your In-N-Out burger. Your burger is like this.
Because you're eating you're eating yak, bro. What's going on?
Well, no, I usually eat bison is what I usually get. Like jalapeno jack bison.
Oh yeah, bison's good.
All right,
you
man.
gotta go. You gotta go cheeseburger, pickles, mustard fried, all the way.
I'm gonna try that. I haven't done that yet.
All right, try that.
Yeah,
Best hole in the wall restaurant in LA, man. Best hole in the wall.
From LA. The sad thing is, I'm thinking of so many that shut down because of COVID. The best hole in the wall restaurant in LA that I know of, there is what's the name of it? There is a taco place called I Have Not Left My House in 9 months and You Forget Everything. It's called something tacos. That's not helpful. I'm gonna Google this. I gotta Google this. They do these amazing fish tacos. Tacos, LA.
What's out?
Oh man, if you're ever in San Diego, I'll take you to a fish taco place, Dinesh. It's a truck, but it'll blow your mind, man. It'll blow your mind. Yeah, I'll take you.
The problem is I'm never gonna find this because it's a hole in the wall place. You know who loved it? Actually, it was who's the food critic?
Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri.
Jonathan Gold. Jonathan Gold loved
John.
it. Very sadly, he passed away. He was amazing.
Was on his top 100.
El Fefe's fish tacos.
Okay, it's on my list. Oh, let's do it.
Let's
do it. But Dinesh, though, if you ever come to San Diego and you're here, just DM me and I'll take you to my place.
Dude, we're doing it every.
It'll blow your mind, bro. I took my buddies Sith Lordy and Azor's Tiger, and they were like, "Damn, bro, this is good." Yeah. You know, so yeah, you'll dig it. And one last question, man. Comic book you can't live without.
Wow.
I don't have to pick. That's not cool. Oh man! Every time I come with an answer, I'm like, no, I can't. No. Can I do a trade? That's cheating? You're like talking single issue.
Comic book, you can't live without, man. One issue.
Okay, one issue. I would say this is gonna be so down my Valiant rabbit hole. I think Magnus Robot Fighter #3 is my favorite comic of all time.
There you go.
I love that cover. It's a cover of a dude robot turning into a sexy girl robot, and 12-year-old Dinesh was just like, "What's happening here? What are these feelings?"
Why do I feel funny?
Hey, but Dinesh, man, I want to thank you, man. We're just elated to have you on, man, and you're such an awesome guest, and we really appreciate it. And it's great to see, like, at least there's one super nerd in Hollywood, getting our backs over there, So
I had a blast. Actually, after that fucker Alfonso left, it's been great since then. What happened?
He's gonna love that.
He has his child has to be put to bed. That's why he
I figured
had to leave. Yeah.
We're dads too. My wife's over here kind of knocking the door. I had to text her like, "Baby, don't worry, we're almost done." So he has kids too. So hey, Dinesh, can you do us a big favor and send us off?
Okay, I can do that. If you want to do it right, collect what you like. Thanks.
There you go.
Boom.